This FedGov Today program is sponsored by the Association of the U.S. Army. On this edition of FedGov Today with Francis Rose, the Help Wanted signs officially out at the IRS. Its new Chico, Traci DiMartini, is here. The Pentagon starts to feel the effects of the confirmation logjam and building the capacity to make the military and the economy stronger at sea. The leader of the Maritime Administration at the Transportation Department will tell you how. Welcome to FedGov Today with Francis Rose. The Internal Revenue Service will soon have more than 90,000 employees for the first time in more than 10 years. The commissioner of the IRS, Danny Werfel, says it's looking for data scientists, accounting pros, and many more skill sets. Traci DiMartini is the Chief Human Capital Officer at the IRS. Traci, welcome. Thanks for joining me. What are you looking for most in this hiring in this hiring rush at the IRS?
We are looking for people that want to serve. I will take people that are entry level, mid-level, top of their field, and it's in every occupation imaginable. You heard the commissioner talked about the need for data scientists, definitely at the top of the list, along with accountants. I can't get enough of the accountants. I need them at all levels to replenish our work ranks. And also people that are like such as HR specialists, IT specialists, procurement, always a big in-demand occupation, and everything in between. I didn't know until last week that we hire art appraisers at the IRS. So if you're an art history major, come and work for us.
You've got a job for everybody, it sounds like. What have you learned about the scope of the Internal Revenue Service and the billets that you've got to fill while you're there in the time that you've been there, what, about 2 months?
A little over 2 months, and it was one of the best career moves I ever made because it's an amazing agency. It is filled with people that are committed to the mission of the service, and they are proud. They have been going through 10 years of declining workforce and declining needs or declining revenue, but we are really excited to have the ability now to hire up. About 18% of my workforce can walk out. They're retirement eligible, and if I add on those between now and 5 years from now, it's up to 28%. So we are really looking for people that want to come in and work for an amazing agency and bring their skills and have a career path.
One of the things that the commissioner talked about when he was on this program a couple of months back is that yes, you can hire 80,000 people according to the Inflation Reduction Act, but you're going to probably lose about 40,000 of those people over that same time period. What does that piece of it look like, Traci? And what are you doing to make sure that you're adding the people that you need instead of just replacing the people that are leaving?
So we're trying to get the word out. Obviously, I think government's a great place to work, and every agency has a special mission and culture. The IRS is no different. In fact, it's really been heartening to see how wonderful this workforce is. They do work that often people want to make fun of, but they are the heartbeat of America. We're the agency that funds America, and the skills are needed everywhere, from the GS 5 or 6 that answer phone calls to help citizens that have tax questions, all the way up to the human capital officer that does the hiring and everyone in between. There's a lot of enthusiasm for working at the IRS. Most of our workforce are longtime employees. We have a very long tenure rate. So we're looking to bring in the next generation of workers that want to join our mission and have a career.
The Federal News Network, Joy Heckman reports the IRS is scanning 225 times more forms this year than all of 2022. How is technology impacting the kinds of people that you're bringing in?
So we obviously are looking for people that are tech savvy, but more importantly, that are willing to learn. So we're even looking at reskilling our current workforce to have them ready to go into jobs that will require advanced IT skills, or at least an understanding of how to use the technology. You mentioned the scanning effort. We are on a mission to go paperless, and I have amazing colleagues that are pushing that envelope as far as it can go. At the same time, we're doing the core work of the IRS, which is engaging with citizens, asking questions, filling up our tax assistance centers with frontline staff that can come in, welcome Americans, answer their questions, answer phone calls, and just doing the day-to-day work that keeps us humming along.
If the conversations that you and I have had when you were at GSA and USAID before that are any indication, you're working on some kind of a strategic plan for your workforce for the coming years.
Oh, you know it.
What does that look like?
So I have 3 objectives while I'm at IRS. Number 1, hire, hire, hire. We are going to get these hiring numbers up and continue to welcome new talent into the service. The second is to really help our workforce understand how valued they are, and we're going to do that through more workforce planning and investing in their skills. And the third, and I know you've heard this before, but this time I mean it, we're going to be #1 in the Federal Employee Viewpoint Survey come 2024. There's a lot of room for us to grow. We have a great partner in Treasury and also lots of supporters such as OPM. And I know we're going to show government what can happen when you give an agency resources and the ability to hire and to the ability to revolutionize their technology. It will easily become a top place to work.
What are the things that you have heard from the employees that you've talked to in the time that you've been there that create the gap between where you are now, where you'd like to be in the FEVs, to determine how to get there?
You know, it's hard when you take resources away from any agency, and it's been a long 10 years at the IRS where they weren't able to hire the staff that they needed to help accomplish the great amount of work ahead of them. What's also different is we have a commissioner that really cares about employees. That has been his message from day one. I'm really impressed with the partnership he has forged with the National Treasury Employees Union. There is nothing but open-mindedness and being very fair-minded and listening to employees, hearing what they want when he's on the ground doing his town halls. So that's refreshing, and it's nice to see that same enthusiasm has trickled to the executive corps.
New York Times reports most of the new hires have been in the IRS Wage and Investment Division, which is the agency's customer service arm. That's you're trying to put people where the taxpayer experiences the most, it sounds like.
I cannot wait. This fall I'm going to go out to more of the tax centers across the country, but I had the chance to visit Atlanta last month. My breath was taken away. These are huge campuses where these individuals are answering the mail, they are answering phone calls, they are addressing the questions of citizens. And we just have finally gotten to a point where we can hire now enough people to handle those calls. So there is a sense of excitement when people feel like, yes, help is on the way, because no one likes to see phone calls go unanswered.
Another item you and I have talked about over the years at your various assignments is quality versus quantity. It's one thing to be able to hire 80,000 people. It's another thing to be able to find 80,000 good people to hire. What does that look like right now, Traci?
So the good news is IRS, we have a ton of flexibilities, especially direct hire authority, which our friends at OPM have given us and will hopefully expand for us in the years to come. We are really looking for people that, #1, want to serve in the federal government. #2, are open to learning new things and to be trained. And #3, want to make a career of it. Because when they come in the door, as long as they understand the opportunities are endless. They can figure out where to go. We will provide training, we will provide direction. But the other thing is the opportunities are everywhere. You know, very few of our jobs are in the Washington, D.C. area. They are all across the country, in Ogden, Utah, in Austin, Texas, in Kansas City, Missouri, although you know I'm an Eagles fan, so I don't want to talk about Kansas City.
Nobody's perfect,
I know.
Traci.
But we have campuses all over. I think the last number I saw was 252 locations across the country. We're hiring veterans, we're hiring students that are graduating. I need all the accounting majors in America to call me. I want accountants. By the dozen.
We get the message. The direct hire authority that you have now, what do you need more of from OPM? You said you hope they expand that for you.
We're hoping they lift the cap so I can hire more people under direct hire authority. I've already hit my limit for 2023, so we're negotiating with them to have the limit lifted so we can bring in more talent. We're also hoping to expand the number of occupations that are covered. Right now the focus has been on Occupation Series 512, which is our revenue agents, which are the people that answer the phones, that are doing the day-to-day facing work with the American public. We would like to see some of that expanded into other occupations, such as HR. Well, we have it for HR, but also for people that work in the communication shop, higher level management analysts. We, of course, also have it for 2210s, which is the IT series, but we need more people that are willing to come in and serve and not be swayed by higher salaries from the private sector. You
talked about the new career folks that you're trying to recruit. You've talked, I've seen you talk publicly recently about the mid-career folks you want to hire. You said recently, just a few moments ago, about making a career at the IRS. What does that look like in 2023 when people don't really go to a job, public or private sector, and stay there 35 years anymore?
So I know both of us have children that are in college or recently out of college, and if we could just get them to understand if they can utilize that Pathways Authority by entering the federal service, staying for 3 to 5 years, and then if they want to go and do something else, that's great. The door is always open then to use your status and to come back in. But I've heard a joke since I've been at the IRS. If you last 3 years, you're basically a lifer. And from everything I've seen in the past few months, I can understand why.
Traci DiMartini, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
You can read more about hiring at the IRS at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, the Pentagon starts to feel the effects of the confirmation logjam. FedGov Today with Francis Rose continues in a moment. The newest Innovation in Government TV show is coming. Innovation in Government FedRAMP, Tuesday, June 19th at 8:30 p.m. on WJLA 24/7 News and on the FedGov Today YouTube channel. Recorded on location at Carasoft's FedRAMP Headliner Summit, you'll learn how the program's doing in fulfilling the vision of its creators, building a platform to secure the cloud for the federal government. Innovation in Government FedRAMP, Tuesday, June 19th at 8:30. Learn more now at fedgovtoday.com. Welcome back. The three service secretaries have a message for Capitol Hill and the Senate this week, and one senator in particular. Army Secretary Christine Wormuth, Navy Secretary Carlos Del Toro, and Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall write in the Washington Post, quote, "Any claim that holding up the promotions of top officers doesn't directly damage the military is wrong, plain and simple." General Robert Brown, U.S. Army retired, as president and CEO of the Association of the United States Army. He's former commander of U.S. Army Pacific. General, welcome. It's great to talk to you again. You write recently in Defense News about this very same subject. Temporary leaders like Army Vice Chief of Staff General Randy George face limits on their authority while awaiting confirmation. What are some of the limits that General George and his counterparts in the other services are up against right now?
Yeah, no, thanks, Francis. First of all, I'm really glad you pointed out the Secretary's op-ed, the three services. I think they were spot on. It's an incredibly dangerous situation. An acting chief is not the same as the lead. It's like having an individual who's acting to lead a team. It's not the same. There's certain authorities they don't have, things they can't do. They can't even form their staff and appropriate looking at the future of how to lead the service. So it's a very dangerous situation. And it's really pulling politics in where it shouldn't be. The military is apolitical. I understand completely civilian control and need for Senate confirmation, but it has really nothing to do with these leaders. Some 300 generals, admirals affected, and then thousands of others affected, their families, more junior leaders and so forth. And it's very, very dangerous. And you know, the only people benefiting from it are adversaries, quite honestly, as they look at this and really would celebrate it. Yeah.
One of those impacted by this was on this program a couple of weeks ago. The Vice Chief of Space Operations, General Thompson, was supposed to be retiring this month, is now staying on for as long as possible until a successor takes his place. What are some of the second and third order effects of this?
You know, that's what, if you're not in the profession of arms, you're not in the military, you may not see that. They're huge impacts. First of all, one of the most challenging things in my 38 years, I loved every minute of it, but 26 moves is a challenge on families. My wife had a job. It's very difficult. 26 times you're moving with her employment. Difficult with children, multiple high schools and families. And then as a general officer, flag officer, you don't know the future. You're in this sort of state of limbo. Well, this makes it even worse. Spouses leaving jobs early, children not knowing what school they'll be in. You can imagine the impact on everything from sports to academics and how that impacts them, as well as the officers. Quite a few have spoken to me, younger, one-star, two-star, who have said, you know, their spouse is unbelievable. They've been a great supporter, but they're almost at the point of, well, this is so crazy. And this limbo we're in, it's enough. And so it's a huge impact. And then, as I mentioned, it's not just the senior leader. There are other folks that would move based on those moves. So in many cases, the individuals will have to have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses getting a second home. The families moving somewhere they don't know for how long. You can imagine the impacts, trouble. Now, and that doesn't even cover the dangerous part. You know, it's tough. These jobs are 20-hour-a-day jobs. They're very difficult jobs these senior leaders are in. And when you're acting, it's not the same. And you know, when you look at it, doing two jobs, forcing folks to do two jobs as an individual because they can't get the appointment is held up. What happens is, how well do you do two jobs that are 20-hour-a-day jobs? Not, you know, it's almost impossible. So increased stress for no reason, quite honestly.
I expect this to be a great topic of conversation at your AUSA annual conference that's coming up in a month or so. What is on the docket for that, in addition to discussing the situations of the Army and the other services?
I'm glad you brought that up, Francis, because it's 9 to 11 October. We're very excited. It's the largest land power conference symposium in North America, one of the largest in the world. But it's educational, as well as 700 defense companies will be there with the latest and greatest for our soldiers out there, in our case, in the Army. And then there'll be great educational forums, but really, to get to your point, a lot of people focus. The theme is be all you can be. Of course, the old but new advertising theme. And so a lot of focus, always have a lot of focus. The Army is all about people, but even more this year. And as you mentioned, I think this will certainly come up, because it does escalate when you look at the younger officers looking and saying, wow, this is how they treat our senior leaders. And I do one other thing. I think there could be a solution to this. I put in my op-ed, if the Senate could change the rules, that make it the Senate have a reason that the individual is not confirmed. It could be conduct, character, or competence. Conduct, character, or competence. Make it not just no reason at all, the individual hasn't done anything. Change the rules and this would all go away, and we'd have our defense of our nation where it needs to be, instead of in danger and peril because of this needless hold.
General Brown, I look forward to seeing you at AUSA, and thank you very much for joining me today.
I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks, Francis.
You can find a link to General Brown's article on confirmations at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, building the capacity to make the military and the economy stronger at sea. The leader of the Maritime Administration at the Transportation Department's here when FedGov Today with Francis Rose continues in a moment. The newest Innovation in Government TV show is coming. Innovation in Government FedRAMP, Tuesday, June 19th at 8:30 p.m. on WJLA 24/7 News and on the FedGov Today YouTube channel. Recorded on location at Carasoft's FedRAMP Headliner Summit, you'll learn how the program's doing in fulfilling the vision of its creators, building a platform to secure the cloud for the federal government. Innovation in Government FedRAMP, Tuesday, June 19th at 8:30. Learn more now at fedgovtoday.com. Welcome back. 41 port projects in 22 states are getting more than $700 million in grants to expand capacity and capability. More than $250 million of that will go to renewable energy projects. Rear Admiral Ann Phillips, U.S. Navy, retired as administrator of the U.S. Maritime Administration. Admiral Phillips, it's great to see you again. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Francis.
When we were on the Chiefs panel together at Sea Air Space, you talked about infrastructure and performance, enhancing that, as I just mentioned. What are the other priorities? What are the other things that are your big rocks right now at Merit?
Well, I think our biggest rock is people. Not too surprisingly, we share some of the challenges that the other services share, and that businesses and industry are sharing across the country right now, which is we need more mariners. And we need more mariners now at sea, serving our country and helping us to ensure our economic and national security needs are met. And to do that, we're really focused on working with industry, working with labor, working with our stakeholders across the maritime diaspora, and developing ways to recruit, train, retain, and reduce barriers to people coming into the industry and staying in the industry. So that's thing one, people. We're all about people, and I can talk more about that. And thing two, maintaining our ready reserve fleet, again, to ensure that we have the capacity to meet the needs of DOD, of the Transportation Command, and General Jacqueline Van Ovis and her team, to ensure, again, our nation's economic and national security needs are met. So very busy on both fronts, in addition to the Port Infrastructure Development grants that you talked about, and we're about to start round 2 of those grant opportunities this year. We'll be announcing them later this fall. Regarding people, you talked about reducing barriers. What are some of the barriers that aspiring mariners experience, and how can you and your team help go about reducing those barriers? Well, I think first and foremost is getting the word out. The maritime industry is hiring. These are excellent jobs that do not necessarily need a college degree. You can pick your opportunities. You can sail the 7 seas if that's what you want to do, or you can work commercially in our U.S. flag coastal fleet, our Jones Act fleet. You can serve on rivers. You can serve on coastwise vessels. You can sail internationally. There are lots of choices for you. We need licensed mariners and unlicensed mariners. It's a good job with good benefits, good pay, and job security, because there is a tremendous need right now. So what we're doing is focusing on reducing barriers to people coming into the industry, and I think I should call out exclusively, we're really focused on safety at sea for all mariners. We have developed, of course, there have been some incidents that have been reported in the maritime industry recently. They've made the news. You're quite well aware of them. In 2021, the Maritime Administration and DOT introduced a program called Embark, which at the time was a program and a policy. Every mariner builds a respectful culture to try to get at and reduce bullying, assault, sexual assault, and sexual harassment at sea. That program, thanks to Congress, has now become law. And in the 2023 NDAA, that program now has the force of law behind it. And we really are focused on changing the culture of the industry to ensure that we are valuing mariners based on their capabilities, their professionalism, and their skills, and reducing and eliminating any threat to perceived or real to their safety across industry. So lots of work to be done there. We're really excited about it. We thank Congress for their support. We work very closely with the Coast Guard and with our carriers and our labor unions to implement this program. I should note that we have, as of today, 19 of our U.S. flag carriers signed up for this program. That means they have sexual assault prevention and response programs in place. We do audits, we do checks on them, and we thank them for their willingness to take this step to ensure safety for all mariners at sea. We focused initially on cadet safety for our Merchant Marine Academy midshipmen and other midshipmen at sea. But really, this is for safety of all mariners at sea. And in that context, reducing barriers to entry. So that if people have heard about this, and this is something that's a detractor for them, 7% of the industry in this country is women. We'd like to have more women at sea. Those women want to know that they're going to be safe. And anyone who wants to join the industry wants to know that they're going to be safe at sea. So this is really important work that we're doing. In addition to that, providing more opportunities for people to join the industry, to find ways to get into it, to help get access to joining a union, going to a union school, and learning to sail and have that opportunity to make a career here. So a lot going on. We have a Centers of Excellence program in the Maritime Administration as well that helps identify educational institutions that specifically focus on the maritime world. And we're very interested in continuing to build that program. It's had an authorization for a grant to support it, no appropriation yet. So we're optimistic.
How do you measure success in a program like the Embark program? How do you know that you're moving the needle in the direction that you want it to go?
Well, that's a great question, and I thank you for it. I've been in the job just a little over a year. During that time, Merit and Embark has gone from being a policy to actual law. And what I would say is, what I have seen over the course of my year, and of course all credit goes to Lucinda Leslie, my previous deputy administrator, and the team that put this policy and this program together. But my current deputy administrator and I, Tamika Flack, we are seeing a difference in the way that industry approaches this, and we are seeing a difference in the way that our unions, that our maritime unions are approaching this. We owe a regulatory process in support of this law. We owe a rulemaking, and we have labor now asking us for that rule. When is that rule going to be in place? We want to make sure that we're enforcing it and that we're seeing it enforced in places where we place our mariners. Labor and carriers both understand that if you want to get people and you want to bring them in and keep them, you need to give them a quality of life that they have come to expect. So you want good working conditions, you want internet, one of the most important things, internet access, but you also want people to know that they're valued, again, based on their professionalism and skill, that they have a future in the industry, and that they have a future with your company. So we're seeing companies realize, hey, it's easier for me to attract people if I provide better services to them. I'm already providing good salaries, but what's their life at sea like? What's their rotation like? How consistent are their opportunities for them to move up within either my company or within their union? So we're seeing a lot of change there. And I have to say, when people come in and talk to us, and the carriers come and talk to us, we just hosted a meeting with carriers. We have a quarterly meeting on Embark, so they can tell us what they're seeing and where they feel like they need help, where we should make tweaks to the process. Carriers, inevitably, when they come in and talk to me now, they're very concerned about the mariner shortfall, but they also tell me the things they're thinking about to improve the circumstances that they have control over. To me, that's a big change. I mentioned we work very closely with the Coast Guard in this. Of course, they have law enforcement authority. Elements of the Coast Guard Act of 2023 also dovetailed nicely and support the Embark as Embark supports the Coast Guard Act. So they are seeing more reporting. To them, that means people have confidence that if they say something has happened, they will expect action, and they can expect action. So This is a positive step as well. And I should add that under the new laws for the Coast Guard, any master that learns of a sexual assault or harassment incident, even if it's hearsay, is obligated by law to report within 24 hours. That's a big change. The Coast Guard has taken that responsibility on wholeheartedly. So this is not easy. This will take years, but we are seeing a change in attitudes, and I think that's tremendously positive, and thank industry, labor, and many stakeholders for being a part of it.
You've talked about the relationship with the Coast Guard a couple of times in our conversation so far. You also referenced General von Ovost. What is your relationship at Merit with the United States military more broadly?
Well, in support of General Van Ovost and Transportation Command, we maintain a ready reserve fleet of sealift vessels, militarily useful sealift vessels that support General Van Ovost and Transcom's needs. This moves DoD's cargo, the military's cargo, wherever it needs to be around the world. So our U.S. flag fleet, of course, is the primary mover of this cargo. DoD 100% cargo requirement must be shipped on U.S. flag vessels, but we maintain this ready reserve force in a reserve status, in a 5-day notice to move, readiness to move status, so that if called upon, if needed by Transcom to augment or support in other capacities, these vessels are ready to go. 7 of them are underway today. We're in the process of activating 2 more. We've averaged almost 9 underway this year continually. A lot of support for Ukraine, but also exercises like Pacific Pathways in the Pacific Fleet area of operations, and other needs that are supporting capacity in addition to that which our U.S. flag fleet provides for Transcom in support of DoD's needs.
Administrator Phillips, it's great to have you on the program.
Thanks
for joining me today.
Yep. It's a great opportunity. Thank you, Francis.
You can read more about all the initiatives that I talked about with Administrator Phillips at Merit at fedgovtoday.com. FedGov Today with Francis Rose is back in a moment. The newest Innovation in Government TV show is coming. Innovation in Government FedRAMP, Tuesday, June 19th at 8:30 p.m. on WJLA 24/7 News and on the FedGov Today YouTube channel. Recorded on location at Carasoft's FedRAMP Headliner Summit, you'll learn how the program's doing in fulfilling the vision of its creators, building a platform to secure the cloud for the federal government. Innovation in Government FedRAMP, Tuesday, June 19th at 8:30. Learn more now at fedgovtoday.com. Welcome back. In today's event spotlight, General Brown mentioned AUSA's annual meeting and exposition coming to the Walter E. Washington Convention Center October 9th through 11th. You can read more and register at ausa.org and on the events page at fedgovtoday.com. FedGov Today returns next Sunday morning at 10:30. I'm Francis Rose. Thanks very much for watching. See you next Sunday. Have a great week.